Roll call, please.
Resides,
Here.
Jenkins,
Here.
Gilmore,
Sure.
Ashley,
Here.
Here.
Albert, here. Easy,
Here.
Here. First time got your name right, huh?
That never happened.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda? So moved.
The agenda is.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. General public comments.
Minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always skip that. Yes, we need to approve minutes. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of Board of Commissioner meetings as of June 17th, 2026.
Second. Then moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion at all? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay, now we have general public comment. Okay. Administrator's report.
Thank you. I'm gonna do something a little different today, and I do have my report for you that I'll pass out. But I'd like to just take a few minutes today to talk about transparency, public service, and the importance of having all the facts before drawing conclusions. Over the past several months, we've received a number of FOIA requests on a variety of topics. I want to be very clear. I support the Freedom of Information Act. It is an important tool that promotes open government and accountability. Every citizen has the right to request public records, and Clark County takes that responsibility seriously. Beginning this month, I will be providing the board with a summary of the FOIA requests we received, so you can see the volume of requests, the amount of staff time involved in gathering records, reviewing documents, and responding, and ultimately the cost to taxpayers. Transparency is important, but transparency also comes with a cost, and I believe it's appropriate that the board and the public understand both sides of that equation. What concerns me is not the FOIA requests themselves. What concerns me is when only portions of the information are shared publicly without the context necessary for people to understand the full story. A recent example involves the county's inmate prescription services. Documents were obtained through a FOIA request and then presented publicly in a way that suggests wrongdoing or a conflict of interest. Unfortunately, that was not included. What was not included was the rest of the story. Clark County has done business with Harrison Family Pharmacy for many years, not because of who owns it, but because they provide a service that meets the needs of our jail and our inmates. The Michigan Department of Corrections requires medications to be bubble packaged for safety, accountability, and proper dispensing. Not every pharmacy offers that service, and those that do often charge significantly more. Each year, we compare pricing and evaluate available vendors. Harrison Family Pharmacy has consistently provided competitive pricing while meeting the specialized packaging requirements. In all cases, the county is also reimbursed for inmate medications by other counties or by the United States Marshal Service when we house inmates on their behalf. Those facts matter. They are part of the complete picture. I also want to say something about the people who work for Clark County. I have the privilege of working alongside dedicated employees and elected officials every day. We don't always agree on every issue, and that's healthy. Different viewpoints make for better decisions. But I firmly believe that the people who serve this county do so because they genuinely care about this community. None of us took these positions to become wealthy or to advance our personal agenda. We serve because we love Clark County. We want our children and grandchildren to have a safe, strong, and financially responsible community. We want to make decisions that improve the place we all call home. One principle I try to live by is to presume positive intent. I believe that most people come to the table wanting to do the right thing. even when they disagree on how to accomplish it. That includes this board, our department heads and our employees and our residents. Public accountability is essential. It makes government stronger, but accountability should be based on complete information, not partial information. It should encourage understanding, not division. It should seek the truth, not simply create headlines or social media posts. I remain committed to being transparent, to answering questions, to complying with every FOIA request, and to providing accurate information to anyone who asks. That commitment will not change. My hope is that, as a community, we can continue to have respectful conversations, even when we disagree, and remember that we are all working toward the same goal, a better Clare County. I recently received a request from Colliers Engineering and Design on behalf of American Minerals and Fertilizer Corridor, Michigan Rail Reinstatement Project, requesting a letter of support from Clare County for a grant. Before considering the request, I gathered additional background information regarding the project and contacted Representative Kuntz's office for additional insight. I appreciate Representative Kuntz taking the time to attend today's meeting to provide the board with information regarding the proposal and answer any questions that you may have. I will refer to Representative Kuntz.
I'm to approach the table, outstanding. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Madam Administrator, I would say if you can suffer fools to twist your words and not be angry, then you're ahead of most. So that is the cesspool of social media, and I certainly share your concerns there. So the potash plant in Reed City, Hersey, most people don't know Hersey, but I'd say it here, has been 2 years away for the last 13 years. And we were contacted maybe a month ago, and they wanted a letter of support from myself, Senator Houck, to reinstall the rail. And that, boy, that just raised a lot of red flags. So I can't be clearer. My first call was to the DNR. That is state of Michigan property. The DNR administers it. And my first call was, wait a minute, there's no scenario where we can do this at the cost of the trail. The trail can't go away. That's not going to happen. So wanted to get to the DNR. I thought their response was very good. Same thing. You need a letter of support. There's a lot of things that have to happen and before that. They had asked for public meetings. What's the environmental impact? What are we doing? A bunch of information, which was reasonable. The company said, well, we don't have time for that. Okay, I can't help you. So we were also asked for a letter of recommendation. And when I say we, I mean the senator and myself independently, and we both independently declined. I don't want to say that I'll never support it, but until I have seen in writing from the DNR that the trail is going to be protected and a lot of other questions are answered, this isn't something I can get behind. So I just felt it was premature that they were out. I certainly understand they have a grant deadline. We all have deadlines to meet. But to come to us in the 11th hour, and frankly, Madam Administrator, I'm surprised the deadline was June 25th. So I'm surprised that they asked you in July. Again, welcome to politics. So we'll see. It was an interesting scenario. It was an opportunity that we declined. We'll monitor it. I don't know what the next step is on that plant that, again, has been 2 years away for 13 years. But we'll go from there. So I don't have a presentation. I certainly didn't prepare handouts. I'm welcome to, I guess I defer, Mr. Chair. Can I ask for questions? Sure. Are there questions from the board or?
Yeah, Tom, I'm sure that you've been reading the articles in the Detroit Free Press and some of the things they've been following it for many years, and being a farmer that uses potash and knowing that about the price of potash went up. What do you know about, according to what I've read in the Free Press, that doesn't mean that it's fact, but they say it's some of the world's purest potash. and it's a large vein. Do you think you
Correct.
find that to be
Correct.
correct?
They've done core samples. The last thing, it was, forgive me if I get off topic. The last thing that President Biden did, the day before President Trump's inauguration, the Department of Energy awarded them a $1.4 billion loan guarantee. It's not a grant, but they're going to guarantee this mine. They'll guarantee the loan. So that would have been January of 24. Well, when the Department of Energy guarantees you $1.4 billion, they also ask to see some data. And they went back to the very beginning. Why do you think there's potash there? Show us the core samples. You know, can you help define this as much as they can? Help us understand your marketing. Give us all the permitting. How are you going to do that? They want to see everything, you know, from A to Z. And it's my understanding, I was in DC yesterday on a road conference, and it's my understanding the Department of Energy is still reviewing that. You know, we're coming up on 18, 19 months now, so I don't know how long that it's going to be. But that's the next step. So everything I've seen, yes, I believe there's potash there, and I believe it's very pure. But again, I can't tell you what the next step is gonna be. I don't know when they're gonna move forward. Did I can't even come close to answering your question?
Yeah, you
Okay.
did. What I understand, one of the things that is slowing it down is the transportation on getting it out, figure that in. And I read there were something like 250 gravel trains a day.
Right,
You think that's
I don't believe that number.
okay?
So, and this is, it's a terrible acronym, Michigan Potash and Salt Company. Well, when I think MPSC, I think Michigan Public Service Commission, so. The MPSC has always been responsive by asking a question, and maybe it's time to reach out to them. I'm not trying to tell the commission what to do, but they would be one to ask. What is your expected truck volume? How much of that is gonna come to Clare? How much is gonna go to Reed City? What's going there? I don't have those numbers.
Yeah, it has went on for years. And what do you know about the company?
They seem like nice people. You know, I have not reviewed, I've gone to the site. I'm sorry, Mr. Commissioner, I don't mean to be flippant. Mr. Commissioner, if you were to drive by the site, there's a couple of wellheads. I mean, you can't even, there's not a building. It's hard to, you could drive by it and not realize it. So I understand and I love their optimism to continue pushing a project this long, it would be hard not to get fatigued. So I admire their resilience. I can't tell you what the next step is. You know, are they waiting on the Department of Energy? It's my understanding they have everything they need, both from EPA and Eagle. Obviously, they have to meet both standards, but the impetus to get this done with what's going on in Ukraine and the price of fertilizer has never been higher. So economically, it seems like good for the area. But, you know, and I understand what they're saying. Maybe they can't tell us everything. I don't know. So,
Okay, so you think it is a legitimate company? Or-
I do.
Okay,
And like I said,
where have they got the resources to lease the land and all of that?
the state of Michigan, before I was in office, the state of Michigan helped them with some money. Oh, forgive me the number, $20 million, I think. So they came in, like any company, they came in and said, well, we think there's potash here and we want to lease your mineral rights. Well, I want you to think of mineral rights as a high-rise building. And they don't want your oil rights up here on the 3rd and 4th floor. They want your potash down here on the 9th and 10th floor. So they leased that lower, and it was quite a large number. I mean, thousands of acres, they leased those mineral rights. When that lease came back up, the state of Michigan said, no, we'd like to invest in this. We want to help you do that. And again, that was before I was in office, but I don't know where they're getting, I don't know what money they've spent so far. So I don't know if they've spent millions of dollars and this has just come out of the investor's pocket, I don't know if I have not. It would be a direct conflict of interest to even, for me to review how they're raising their money. Like, I'm not interested in investing in their company. So I don't know, it's private, they're not like they're selling shares.
Okay, say the rails to trails wasn't there. Would you like to estimate how many $1,000,000?
Oh, my. Oh, my. I'm afraid to even guess.
All the bridges have. to
Correct,
be
exactly.
replaced.
I'm old enough, I've taken the railroad to Reed City. Right, they took that line out in 1983, and I remember taking it over to Reed City, and every mile or two, there's a bridge, there's a culvert, there's something that has to be rebuilt. The rail bridge on my parents' farm was 1903, and it's still active. Well, there's no way they're gonna put new rail in over a 100-year-old bridge. So it's not just, the land acquisition is there. The state of Michigan owns the rail. From Clare to Malden, the state of Michigan owns it. I don't even know how many bridges we're talking about. But you have to cross the Muskegon River. If you told me that would be $25 million, I'd believe you. If you said 10 million, I mean, I just have no idea. They applied, it was a Chrissy grant. It's help me. CRISI, and I don't remember the acronym. But it was a federal grant. And they said, oh, this just came out, and if we get this, it'll really help. I understand that, and I applaud you for going after the grant. However, I don't know enough information about it, and that was my unsolicited advice to Madam Administrator. Hey, I don't know enough about this to sign on.
It just seems like it'd be billions.
Yeah, I don't know. They used to say $1 million a mile, but that doesn't include bridges. We can talk to our road manager. A road, that's just, I wouldn't even want to guess. They applied, the grant was 225 million?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there you go. We'll go with their estimate. Now, again, I didn't review their grant application. What I want to see is, tell me how the trail is going to be better than it is now. If you put the rail back in, it's not enough that the trail is there. You're going to need to improve it.
Okay.
And I want to know that expense too.
If we talk about the trail, they are talking about relocating the trail.
Correct.
Wouldn't you is there enough right of way there to put it on
Yes.
alongside?
You remember where the Kubota or Ruckles, you know where Ruckles is down in Clare?
Yeah,
From Ruckles out to Leather Truss, the rail trail and the railroad run together. Then it's fine. It's 100-foot right of way. They have to put up a fence, but it seems to be fine.
so any idea what the cost of the putting in a new, you're talking a lot there.
Oh my Lord, yes. And again, that's we get this at the 11th hour. I don't remember the date they approached me, but I did not have time to even begin to get to the June 25th deadline. And you're right, I want to see the plans for the trail. So if you've been on the rail trail, the railroad's down the middle, it's 100-foot right away, but geez, down here, there's the Tobacco River, there's all kinds of things there.
Yeah, you
So-
got bridges and things that
Right.
have to be there. Tell me about the agency that they've applied to for the money.
Oh, Madam Administrator, I believe it's USDOT, but it could be the Federal Railroad
It's
Administration.
the Federal Railroad.
So it is the FRA,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, so, when you're on the transportation committee with Mac and Lansing.
Mhm.
And we would get, people from the railroad that would come in periodically and talk about the trouble with now they were looking from the economic side. The trouble with Michigan, it's not a pass-through state.
Right.
You can't come in, pick up a load of freight, so they said that it's vital. And you gotta realize, those are railroad people. To them, everything's vital. But we need more rail in the state in order to be able to connect. And they used to, come in quite often, and I always wondered, the rails, the reason the tracks were pulled in the first place is they basically, the C&O Railroad went not belly up, but they couldn't make a profit on that line.
Correct.
You know, if you go over Lake Michigan, you see the Badger, which they turned into, to be able to take people across, but there used to be up at Manistee, there's the Milwaukee, there's several, what was there, 5 of them? And they were built to haul railroad cars.
Right,
Were they not?
that's why, correct, and that's why Clare is where it is. Clare is the intersection of 2 railroads, and the freeways followed the railroads. But it was 1983, they took that line out from Bay City to Ludington, and that's exactly it. It's a private company, they couldn't make money at it. The rail came out, so. I'm always hesitant when the government starts picking winners and losers. I understand this is a big step, it'd be good for our community. Do you spend $250 million for one customer? I haven't made that decision yet, if I could support it, you know, and I think to your point is, well, what happens if potash is 2 years away, 13 years from now? What do we do with the line? You know, there's always the dream of, well, there's Yoplait in Reed City and Everett Products and. You know, okay, sure, there are customers along the way there, but is that worth $250 million? I don't know.
I would think we would be wanting to seize the potash, or we made a major investment like this.
I certainly don't speak for the Federal Railroad Administration, but I think that will factor into their decision.
And, just one last comment. I don't think the government does a very good job of picking winners.
I concur. Write that down somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Of course, good to see you.
Mr. Coombs, I
Sir,
got questions to piggyback off Jack. On the rails for trails, how much taxpayer money is already invested in the rails for trails?
oh gosh, I don't know. I don't, again, it was 1983 that went out. I know it was $1 million to run from the industrial park to Kubota. I don't know where Kubota used to be, forgive me. No, Kubota's still there, yes. Because they had to put that bridge there, right? They can't be on the railroad, so they had to build the elevated walk behind the senior home. You know what I'm talking there, so I wouldn't have a clue. And it's hard because going from Clare East, it is owned by counties.
Mhm.
From Clare West, it is owned by the DNR, well, it's owned by the state, administered by the DNR.
So if they put the rails in, so all the money we invested already is just a waste, because we had to tear it out.
Right, has to be relocated. And that was my first question of, that's not a state expense. If you're asking us to move the trail, I mean, it's really nice, you've been on it, I'm sure you have. Well, if you're asking us to relocate our asset, that's your expense. And I want to see, and again, I'm not trying to, the gentleman from the DNR is here, I'm not trying to bludgeon them. I want to see in writing, well, how are our assets protected? So.
Next question for the potash project. Is not having a rail, is that a, it's like a halted, not good, what's an alternative transportation?
Yeah, not to my knowledge, I mean, there's the rail came out in 1983. And the first I heard about the potash plant was 2012, 2013. So I mean, the rail had been out for a long time. Probably Michigan Potash and Salt Company would be better to answer that. But you can't count on rail that's never been there. So.
That's it, thank you.
Well, this comes back to, I landed at Detroit Airport last night at 1 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'd love an international airport in Harrison, but it doesn't, I'd love for rail to go back in. Is it worth the investment? And that hasn't been, in my mind, I'm not trying to sway the commission. That has not been decided.
Thank you.
Sure. Does everybody know how to get a hold of me? I'd be glad to share my email, my cell number. If questions come up, I very much appreciated you reaching out. We got that. And maybe I should have gone that way too. When they reached out to me, I didn't think they'd bother you. Maybe it wasn't a bother, but I was surprised that once the deadline passed, then they reached out. So, but please reach out with anything we can help with. Glad to do it. So.
That's the deadline for the grant app.
Was June 25th.
That's the deadline to report.
Yes, sir.
So are there any other deadlines?
Not to my knowledge.
It was kind of like the DOT grant that you and I did. where the grant was due at a certain date, but they would accept letters of support for a time period after.
Or after.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, I'd only been told June 25th. And again, you want to be optimistic, you want to do good things, but when somebody comes to me and says, Representative, I need this in the next week, can you do this? Boy, instantly it's wait a minute, wait, you know, I don't like the hard sell.
So they have a plot,
Yes,
probably yes.
so letters.
Yeah.
right, and I would assume they've reached out to Osceola and Lake. They're gonna go all the way to Baldwin. So,
Would potash be considered a critical mineral?
it currently is. The administration has 22. Don't ask me to list the 22, but I know that potash is on that list.
Okay, in the last couple of weeks, hasn't President Trump introduced or they want to a critical minerals bill?
I'm unfamiliar with that. I know there's a critical mineral list. And if you're working on a project that is on that list, then you go to the front of the line. You still have to meet all of the EPA regulations, you still have to do that, but if you're on that critical mineral list, you go to the front of the line.
Do you
No.
think maybe that's what's kind of renewed the interest in this for them?
You know, again, I wanna praise their fortitude. They've never given up hope. Like I said, since 2012 or 13, get ready, it's 2 years away. Are you ready? Get ready, it's 2 years away. And they've never changed that, so I don't know.
Okay, that's why I kind of asked if they are a private company
They are,
and they're probably struggling financially to be able to make it, to complete all of this.
Sure.
Well, that critical minerals deal.
absolutely will help them, again,
helps them.
because now when they need an answer from the EPA. They go to the front of the line. Well, that's huge, you know, you don't have to wait for it. I don't know what the next step is. We're waiting for the Department of Energy. You know, when we talk about going to the front of the line, and the review started in January of 2024. Well, it doesn't feel like it's moving very quickly.
It's been a long time that I've been
Agreed.
reading about it.
Agreed.
And there's been 4 or 5 years ago, they're right on the verge of making this thing happen. Now, I think they still have the salt portion, but they're not part of that, are they?
Correct. That is now, is that Cargill? It's Cargill. Cargill. So the new mine is just a few miles. It's like 3 miles. If you're driving out of Everett and you can see the Osceola County Road Commission on the south side of the road there. You know, are you familiar with that stretch?
Yeah, I know.
It's right where it goes to the
I
2
know where
lane.
it is.
Okay, if you look up on the hill, you can see the Cargill plant.
Yeah,
You can see it. Well, the new mine is just a couple miles back in from there. That's where God put the potash, but they're not,
I understand they kind of discovered there was potash there through some of the salt mining.
right,
That were bringing up.
right.
And then they started to explore. And, you know, there again,
Right. So they don't do any potash out of the Cargill
no,
facility. And they'll do table salt, they do road salt, they do water softener salt, every spectrum of salt out of there. So,
You mentioned C&O Railroad used to own that line, or CSX?
well, it was, when I was younger, it's C&O, and I think they did become C&X and.
yeah, railroad merger and acquisition, they're not my,
So according to the sheet you handed out, Lori, the West Michigan Railroad Company is the applicant. And they're based out of Saugatuck. So they're attempting to. Trying to control that line.
right? And I don't know,
Potash is the customer
correct,
of Michigan versus West Michigan Railroad.
that's my understanding. And I don't even know, again, when I take this to the DNR, and they were very responsive. They said, well, are you looking, do they want to buy the land to divest state property, there's a very determined process on that. Or are you looking to lease the land? Again, not being of the legal department, my thought is we should lease the land, because then we still control it. Then we can say the rail trail will be here, or you have violated your lease. Like you shall, not you should. That is a question, you know, does the DNR transfer ownership to the Michigan Department of Transportation? We have a rail division. I don't know, but these are questions, I need all of this answered before I'm willing to sign.
In this little page, it also says rail restoration and trail use should not be treated as competing public interests. I don't understand that line. It isn't competing public interest. You've already said the trail must remain, and I agree with that.
Correct.
We've invested money into it. It's a public asset. But what does that mean? It's not to be treated as a competing public interest, because obviously it is.
I get into trouble when I try and figure out what other people are thinking. My assumption would be, and I understand the spelling of the word assume, my assumption would be they're envisioning what's between Leather Truss and Kubota. They're envisioning a dual use right away.
Now, the tracks that go through Clare go up to where Frankfurt or
Traverse City,
Traverse City,
Petoskey.
they're owned by the state of Michigan.
They are
Correct,
from Ampere, which is Owasso-ish.
yeah.
Yep.
So. Maybe Dwayne can answer, maybe you can. How much of the motor vehicle funds go to rail?
They don't break it down. The state of Michigan owns about 700 miles of rail. Where most of the money goes is on the Amtrak line. I want you to think Detroit to Chicago. Amtrak runs on private rail. They lease that right. We'd like to run a train across your tracks. And the railroad that owned that, forgive me, whoever it was, said, you know what, we're not making money. We're gonna sell the track. The state of Michigan in 1995 said, well, we want to preserve passenger rail service to our third largest city in the nation. So the state of Michigan bought that rail, again, with the intent of operating it. Well, when I get a report from MDOT Rail Service, it has everything. Here's how much we spend. They don't break it down into, here's the, I call it north-south. It's kind of on an angle. They don't break it down by that.
So when we fill up a tank of gas, a little bit of that goes to the rail, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The rail itself can't support the state of Michigan's track, can it?
I don't know. Are we talking about the passenger service from Detroit to Chicago, or are we talking?
I'm talking about the Ann Arbor line that comes through Clare.
So they do pay, Watco. It used to be the Great Lakes Central, and they sold to Watco 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Right. Again, railroad mergers and acquisitions. It's all, for lack of a better word, I say incestual, but I mean nothing by that. They pay the state of Michigan to use that track. And there are maintenance agreements that you're going to maintain it. Matter of fact, if you drive through Clare, they've just replaced most of the rail. They're going to the heavier standard 115-pound rail at the railroad's expense. Now, the same thing, they're going to make that leasehold improvement. Well, that means that we get to use this rail for, you know, they deal in 20-year increments. Railroads have such a long timeline. So Watco pays the state of Michigan to use their rail,
Okay,
but I don't know that number.
who's Watco now?
Watco operates the railroad that runs through Clare, the north-south line through Clare.
Okay, they're the ones that lease and.
Yes, sir.
Tracks now.
Yes.
Are they fairly new company?
No, they own, I wouldn't even know how many, they're one of the largest short line railroads. So if you get on WATCO, if you get on Watco's line, they own railroads all over the nation. Interesting, but you see, you bring up good question. I'm not sure I've answered, been able to, but you see where this comes. Well, who's gonna operate it? Is it why is West Michigan Rail? Are we gonna own it or are we gonna lease it? Tell me the plan, you know, you see my hesitation. Again, I'm not advising the commission on what to do, but you understand why I didn't sign.
Oh, I do.
Okay,
You know, I could talk about this more, but I don't wanna. I got the.
really.
Any other questions for Tom?
Commissioners, thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Of course, anytime.
We meet the third Wednesday of every month.
When we're not in session. Very good.
Hey, David, you want to take our first motion, please?
Motion to approve the statutory finance committee meeting minutes of June 22nd, 2026, in the amount of $219,280.02. The minutes of July 6th, 2026, in the amount of $31,746.66.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Thank
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Easy,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Oliver. Yes. Axel,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Residency.
Yes.
Motion carried. Steve,
I make a motion to approve the expenditures for the month of June 2026 in the amount of $1,894,900.09. With the general fund expenditures totaling $1,292,567.29.
Second.
been moved and seconded, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Residency.
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Axel,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Counselor,
Yes.
Easy,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Marlene,
Make a motion to approve the budget adjustment number 26-118 in the amount of $662,759.23.
Second.
been moved and seconded, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Easy,
Yes.
Counselor,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Axel,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
and Residency.
Yes.
Motion carried. Health insurance discussion.
I'd like to introduce Jennifer Martin, who is with the Hill Group. And they have been assisting us with our health insurance. That we've been bidding out and. Do you want me to pass anything out, Jen?
I brought you guys some toothbrushes instead of pens. Figured you have enough pens.
I think every single one of them need to do.
There you go. As I'm driving over here, I'm like, is this a concept to bring a toothbrush? I don't know, like everyone could use a toothbrush.
Just for the rate reduction.
Yeah.
Did you bring toothpaste?
No toothpaste. I'll have to remember that next time. So you guys have grown since the last time I was here. I did 12 copies, so I'm gonna keep one back. I just counted, so.
And mine, I'll give my copies to her.
Okay. And if we need an extra, I can give you mine when I'm done, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Disrespect.
Do we need to help pass anything out?
I think I got it.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know what? Maybe my hands are a little more full. That would be helpful. Thank you.
You got one, okay.
You want to pass these out and then. I color code for a reason, so I will let you guys know. Yeah. where we're at, which spreadsheet, because I am handing you a lot here.
A lot of information, we've been working on this for a long time.
Well, then, but then, there's no cell light volume, no cell light. They want to connect it. No
It's
cell.
the same thing as we have.
It is, I think I changed the colors a little bit, but, all right. Right, to make it as big as I can. If I've got this over, I know that's why I need to make them bigger, so. Numbers are small.
I did not, but I can get one. I have those copies. So you don't have to, but if you've got extra, I'll take one.
Here.
Thank
I
you.
think you might be. Alright, so I do have that I didn't pass out, because I didn't wanna, I have one more spreadsheet to it and confuse everyone, but when we come to the point of possibly needing it, I do have last year's, the benefits summary sheet that I prepared, so I do have this for comparison if anybody does want this as we start to go through it. Just so you know, I can pass that out, but for now, I'll hold that back for a brief minute and go through what's at hand in front of you guys. So, as Lori mentioned, we've been going back and forth, over the last couple months since your renewal came in and looking at a lot of different options. I know administratively, her goal, and Jody as well, is always trying to find what's best for the employees, but also finding what's best for the budget as well. So sometimes trying to find that balance is not always easy, but we do what we can to figure it out, and most importantly, make sure that we're getting the best deal from the various carriers. And so several carriers were quoted out. I did not put on here the dental and vision, all that was quoted. But we did quote out several dental and vision as well, but I think today the focus really is more on the medical and the prescription, which is the bigger picture. With that being said, you guys did initially, and I'm sure you heard, receive a 33% increase from Priority Health, which is huge. Trend right now is 15%, so that's kind of the average. One question that Lori asked is why? Why did we get hit with such a big increase? And quite frankly, I think it's because Priority did buy the business, but they came in with a really good rate in the very beginning. And so there's some recoupment that is happening to recoup some of those dollars that have been lost. So it's not really a fair game that they play, but they do. We did quote, like I mentioned, several carriers. Blues did actually come in, Blue Care Network as the HMO, which is what you guys had before. They came in with some really great rates, and we had left the last meeting we were at with the intentions of switching over back to Blue Care Network. And when I positioned everything to Priority, they came back and reduced your rates. And so that's just part of what I do, is try to, I hate to ping them against each other, but at the end of the day, if we don't have to go through the work of switching a carrier and put the employees through making a change, then by all means, but I wish they'd just give us that right in the very beginning. So went back and had to revise a bunch of numbers, and the rate now, the actual increase is 21%. Is what you guys are facing. Actually, overall, when I put it all together, it's 18.84%, which you'll see on here. I mentioned I do a lot of colors, so I'm gonna reference some colors as I go through this, just because I'm not sitting next to you guys to point. And on here, I did a lot of proposed You'll see highlighted throughout here, and I want to apologize because this blue is not the greatest blue on the next page, but it's only on the proposed option. So this grid on this front sheet here, you'll see up at the top, the main increase that we're facing right now is on the medical with priority, and I mentioned that 18.84%. What we're proposing in making some changes, but still keeping priority health, is actually going to take that 18.84 down to a 4% increase. And doing that is going to, there's not a lot of major changes in the plan itself. Is actually still very rich to the employee, and it's still keeping it pretty affordable. I know one thing that we had talked about, and I think that that admin was tasked with looking at, do we go 80-20? You guys every year, or looking at the hard cap, every year you guys have that choice. So you guys opt out. Historically, you guys have always opted out of PA 152. But every year you have the choice to opt in. And if you opt in, you choose either hard cap, where there's a dollar amount, and that dollar amount changes every year. This last year, it was like a 2 point something, it's on here, a little over 2% increase. So not a lot. When we're facing a 30% increase and it's only going up 2%, it's not a lot. But the premium has to stay within that hard cap. Anything above that hard cap is what gets passed on to the employee, and that determines their cost share. The other option you have is doing 80-20, and that is simple math of 20%. They pay 20% of the premium. So when we're looking at these options, and I'm gonna go through them with you, you'll see on here those calculations for both 80-20 and hard cap. And then below that, you're going to see another set of numbers, which is a custom percentages, which is just 5% of the premium. So I think, the goal is to try to bring the budget a little more in line with healthcare, and doing so, it's maybe getting the cost share a little more in line with the plan design that's in place. And 5% is still extremely favorable to the employees when you look across the board at other municipalities and what they're charging, especially with the plan design that I'm proposing to you guys. So with that said, let's pull out first this sheet right here, which is the small one. This is going to be the renewal, and this is showing just the 2 plans that you guys have today, and what it would look like if we were to just renew as is, not make any changes to the plan itself, and what that cost would look like. So the first column is the base plan, which is that navy color, and then the second column is in orange is the buy-up plan. So first one is your HMO, and the second one is your PPO, which is a more expensive benefit. In the blue box, you're going to see a $6,000 deductible, and then to the right of that, under HRA, you're going to see a $250. What that means is we're purchasing a $6,000 deductible to keep the premium down, but we have an HRA or a health reimbursement arrangement in place that covers the difference between $250 and $6,000. So the employees, they pay the first $250. You at Clare County, you guys pay up to $6,000. And then once that $6,000, or if that $6,000 is hit, then the insurance company picks up. So it's kind of a way of being like a hybrid self-funded type of a plan. So you're not taking on quite as much risk as a self-funded plan, but it gives you a little more control of the plan. And it absolutely reduces costs. And how it reduces costs is deductible is typically your hospitalization, your lab work, and your x-rays. Not everybody is going in for hospitalization, lab work, and x-rays. You've got a number of employees that are just getting a prescription here and there and just going to the doctor's office. You've got some that probably haven't seen a doctor in years. Those are the people that are helping to reduce the cost, because you're making them whole down to $250, but If they don't use it, you're paying a premium based on a $6,000 deductible, and that's where that savings comes into play. So it's a great way to be able to maximize the savings instead of paying for this rich $250 deductible plan on everybody and wasting those dollars for those that are not using the coverage. So with that being said, down below, you'll see the continued coverage. So the co-insurance after the deductible, 20%, and that gets reimbursed to 0, and so forth. Below that, you're going to see a current rate and then a renewal rate. So those are the new revised rates from Priority Health, reflecting that 21.27% increase. So that's on the premium. And then below that is your utilization. So we have to build in that dollar amount that illustratively covers between the $250 and the $6,000, because they're not getting a $6,000 deductible plan, they're getting a $250. So we have to build that in to the premium. And then below that, you're going to see it's the two added together, which is the combined illustrative rate. And that's what we base the full overall increase on, which is that 18.84%.
Includes the HRA.
Which includes the HRA. Yep. Well, over to the right, same thing. This one's got a $5,000 deductible that's reimbursed down to 0. So that is the other piece of the richer, it's got a richer network and it's got a 0 deductible. And then down below, you'll see the same set of rates, the current and the renewal and the utilization, and then the 18.8% increase. Below that, you're going to see another set of boxes with this yellow bar highlighting, saying overall change. That's showing combined. Your current cost is 2 million. The renewal cost is 2.4, leaving a cost change of 390,000. So if we did not make any changes to the plan, renewed as is, we would be looking at an additional cost of 390,000. Okay. And then below that, you're going to see some more boxes is the base plan, and that's the PA 152 cost share that we talked about. And you can see what that cost would look like if you decided to opt in to PA 152 under the hard cap. As an example, a single would pay $125, and that's bi-weekly. Family would pay $375, or if we did 80-20, the single would pay $80.45 and a family would pay $241.30. So that's per pay, that's bi-weekly. So you can see that is drastically different from their current $6.78 that they're paying as a single, or $17.35 as a family. So the discussion was, how do we start to get ourselves a little bit more in line with PA 152 without drastically going all the way to PA 152? And so that's where we came up with the 5% increase, or the 5% cost share, I apologize. So you can see that calculation is much more affordable, but still, it still does bring a small bump to the employee's cost. So taking from a $6.78 on a single to an $18.79, for a family, taking it to $53.39. And then you can see to the right in the orange, the cost shares there as well. And that is simply the difference between the two in premium. So it's taking the difference in the premium, and then it is adding on the base cost share as well. So they're picking up any additional cost if they take that plan. So your guys' cost is based on that blue base plan. So any questions on this piece? So this is what it would look like if we made no changes, renewed as is. We would be looking at this $390,000 increase.
And that's after Priority Health sharpened their pencils.
So. Correct. So now the next one is this piece here, which is the one that does not have the red font at the top. That does not say preliminary. And it's got, well, they all have green. This one has orange. The other one does not. Gotta bring that right.
Is this one with the HSA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So this sheet here, this is now going into, this is what I propose to be able to get the increase down to a 4%. So we're looking at a 77,000 increase versus a 390. So these are changes that we're proposing to make to the plan. And one of the options is, actually adding on an option, so instead of having two, we're having. So what we propose is the base plan, keeping it still priority health, keeping it as an HMO. But bumping up that deductible a little bit to have a little bit more bandwidth there, in the HRA. So taking it from $6,000 to an $8,000 deductible. And then reimbursing back to the same $250 deductible that they have today. Another change, and what I did, just so you guys understand the green highlights, anything in green is a change that we're proposing from what is currently being purchased. So right now, a 20% co-insurance, and we would be no longer reimbursing back on the co-insurance where they had 0. Instead, they would start paying 20% after that $250 deductible, where today they pay 0% after the $250 deductible. And so again, that deductible and co-insurance is your hospitalization, your lab work, and your x-rays. That's when that kicks in. Below that, you're going to see your flat dollar copays. And so this would be a $20 office visit, where right now it's a $10 office visit. So it's taking it from $10 to $20. The specialist copay is a $35 copay, which right now is I apologize, 20. So it's taking it from 20 to 35. Same with the Chiro from 20 to 35. And then your urgent care is going to be $40, which right now is 20. So taking that from 20 to $40. And then the emergency room right now is $75 after the deductible, and with this one, it would go up to $100 after the deductible. And then below that, the out-of-pocket max. So that's the overall, what the employee would pay out of pocket should they actually hit that. Then the max that they would pay before insurance kicks in 100% on everything. We would bump that up to $10,600 on a single, and reimburse, there'd still be reimbursement there. So the employee would have a $4,000 out-of-pocket max as a single, or $8,000 capped for a 2-person or a family. So that is going to reduce the cost on the base plan over to the, well, actually, I'll go further down a little bit. Under there, you're going to see the new rates, the calculations for PA 152, and then you're going to see the new 5% cost share. So that would be $17.72 for a single, or $53.17 for a family. And then to the right of that, you're going to see the buy-up plan, which there are a set of numbers, I failed to mention before. Those numbers to the left of each is the number of enrollees in each plan. So the bulk of your employees, 84, are enrolled in your base plan, and we've got 9 that are enrolled in this gold plan. So with the gold one, this is again trying to just control that cost a little bit. Even though the employees are paying the difference, it's still a pretty costly plan. So it's taking that deductible up to $7,000, but reimbursing it still to $100. Where right now it's a 0 deductible, so it's just getting a little bit of a deductible in play on that plan. And then in addition, they would have a co-insurance as well. So right now they have 0 deductible, 0 co-insurance, which is a plan I think I put in about 10 to 12 years ago that is still sitting here. So it's time to make, a few revisions, and that's still extremely rich. But it's still a very rich benefit. The office visit would be $20, the specialist $35, Chiro $35, urgent care $40, and the emergency room $75. Drug card on this is a 15, 50, 80, 20%, 20%. So generics are $15. Your brands are 50 or 80, depending upon the tier it falls into. And then your specialty are 20% up to your 100 or a 200 max. And then all of that again accumulates towards that out-of-pocket maximum. If they hit that, then now it's 100% coverage. and this would bump up to 5,000. And I did make a note on here, it's on the second page, under alternate medical RX option, you'll see out-of-pocket maximum, and I briefly described that. And I made a note on here about, something that I've been watching since I came back into play. In 2021, you guys had an out-of-pocket max on your base plan of 5,250. That's what the employees had. Somewhere along the line, that got switched drastically down to 2,150, which is extremely rich, and part of another reason why we're seeing such an increase. And so this is trying to get this a little bit, again, more in line back with what it was. And much more in line with benefits today. The switching the PPO plan to the 5,000 that the employees would pay actually aligns us back again with where we were at in 2021. And then you'll see that again, the cost share under the gold plan as well for the employees. And then to the right of that, this would be a new option that we would add, is a HSA, a health savings account. So HSAs are great. They are not for everybody. And so it's not a plan I like to put in place by itself. I like to put it in place as an option, just to try to best meet everybody's needs. And that way, those that it makes sense for have the opportunity to take it. Those that would rather have upfront flat dollar coverage have an opportunity to choose that as well. I designed the HSA plan to be more in line with the base. And so that way the cost of the plan itself and what Clare County is putting forward is very similar to the base plan. So those two plans are very equal, regardless of which option the employee takes. An HSA does work very different from your standard plan, option 1 and 2. And this would be something that would be discussed and educated on for the employees, so they fully understood how it worked. With the deductible, if they're a single, they pay $1,700. But if they're a 2-person or a family, they're paying that $2,400, and that is different from what they've been accustomed to. So I am a family of 5, and let's say I'm on your option, your base option, and I'm the only one that is having hospitalization, lab work, or x-rays. I only pay $250 in my deductible. I don't have to pay the full $500 just because I'm a family. My husband and my children, they're gonna still accumulate towards that $250 to hit my 500 cap. But I only have to pay $250. Now, if I'm on your HSA plan, I'm a family of 5 and I'm sick, I pay the full $2,400. Doesn't matter if it's just me, I'm paying that full $2,400, or collectively our family is paying the $2,400. So in education meetings, I always tell people, if you're looking at the HSA and you're enrolled as a 2-person or family, just cross that $1,700 off, because it just simply does not apply to you. Everything goes towards the deductible on an HSA, so that's the other difference. With your current base plan and your buy-up plan, it doesn't matter, the deductible doesn't matter unless they have that hospitalization, lab work, or x-rays. If they go into the doctor's office, they're paying a flat dollar full pay. And under the HSA, if they go into the doctor's office, they're paying the full amount and it goes towards the deductible. Same with a prescription. So in the beginning of the year, potentially, they go to the doctor's office, they could pay $115, go to the pharmacy and pay, another $200 for their prescription. So that's where it's very different, because it goes towards the deductible. Now, some may say, well, why would we want to take an HSA? There's a lot of benefits to an HSA, and I won't go through them unless you guys want me to, but I did put some perks on the last page here of an HSA. Tax advantages being number 1. But if you look at the plan itself, in some cases, it's either for those that want to invest the money and have that tax strategy and be able to put dollars in and contribute tax-free. But it's also, if you look at it and do the math, in some cases, those that actually are high users, they might have more out of pocket up front. But if they look at their expenses at the end of the year on the HSA, they're probably going to come out ahead and have less out of pocket. So this has an out-of-pocket max of $3,500 for a single. That's the most they're gonna pay as a single. And so in some cases, this is a much better plan, even if you're sick. But it is important they understand how it works. Because they're gonna be paying a lot more upfront than what they're used to. But if they evaluate it at the end of the year, they might see that there is some savings there. So that's the HSA. I designed this also where Clare County would contribute dollars into this. And so this is something that, it doesn't have to be this dollar amount. We can, change this dollar amount. But we would have to obviously, with the motion, decide firmly what we're going to contribute. And then every year we can decide what we want to contribute. So this is what I'm proposing for 2026. And it would be $2,000 for singles, and $3,000 for anyone that enrolls as a 2-person or a family. And that would cover that deductible in full and give them even a little bit more, into that out-of-pocket max. So the way it's designed is actually a very rich plan. And the nice thing with an HSA is, especially you've got, young, healthy people that aren't using the healthcare coverage, take that HSA, take that money, let that money roll over year after year. Then maybe at some point, if, you're starting a family and start to need the healthcare more, you can flip over to maybe a base or a buyout, and you'll still have those dollars. That you just can't contribute to it anymore, but you'll still have those dollars to be able to spend towards any of your expenses. So it's a great option to meet the needs of certain individuals. And the cost share you'll see down at the bottom, that 5% is pretty close to the base plan as well. So those are the 3 proposed options that we discussed and bringing to you guys. Or I don't think we were going to look for a motion today. I think we were going to basically just educate you, show it to you, and then you guys let me know if you have questions, and then I think you guys are going to do a vote on the 28th on what you decide.
I'm gonna actually ask for a meeting.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
One thing to note on the HSA also is that upon separation, retirement or whatever, they can take those dollars that they've saved in their
Yes.
HSA account with them.
And I did, like I said, on the second to the last page, I did go into a little brief bullets of key features and so forth, and it talks about that rollover. And it's, gosh, I apologize, you guys, this is a terribly, can't read it very well. It was off Priority's website, and I thought it was good, but it did come through very well. But this is a great little box that shows the differences between an HSA, an FSA, and an HRA. Because sometimes all these acronyms can get very confusing. So, but if anybody does have any questions, by all means, I'm more than happy, even afterwards, or another day, to call me and I can walk through some of this stuff a little bit more in detail, because I know our time is usually pretty tight here. This piece here that says preliminary summary, this is the benefits at a glance that I put together, or not benefits at a glance, the benefits summary sheet that I put together that I was hand out to the employees and community. And so it basically is a brief overview of what their options are, what their cost share is, and it's a little bit easier to read than something like this, all the numbers. And so it's the same thing, same options as this sheet here, but it's more the employee friendly version of it. So whichever one is easier for you guys to look at, but this one lays it out a little bit more clear for you. And then, like I said, this is last year's, the 2025 benefit summary sheet that I had here, if anybody does want that for a comparison. So you can see this is what they currently have, and this is what we're proposing. And I'll just leave these here behind so you guys can grab them. Should you want them, and then Lori, if you don't mind, if there are some left, maybe if you could just take them so you don't get tossed around yet until we kind of.
I'll take them till we
that would be
decide,
great.
which plan for sure.
So we're not creating any confusion. So I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
or you may have questions.
Oh.
If you look at it.
Actually, I did miss something. I missed a very important detail here. One other change, that I'm proposing on that buyout plan is moving it from a PPO to a point of service. And in here, I also go into those different networks and what that means. So with a point of service, plan, it's really gonna be no different than their PPO. A PPO is the most expensive with priority. I don't know why that was ever put into place. I typically don't very rarely would I do a PPO anymore because the point of service, it gives the same network. The only difference is employees, they have to have a referral for their care, where with a PPO, they do not have to have a referral. And I don't know when the last time you guys have been to a specialist, even a dermatologist. Today, you can't go without a referral. So whether the insurance company is dictating it or not, the providers are wanting a referral. So why pay extra in your premium when it's happening regardless? And once you get that referral, it's auto from there. You don't have to keep getting that referral. So it's a very easy step to create some savings. And so that is switching it from a PPO to a PPO service. That was one other change. Sorry, Lori.
That's all right. So basically, the first options that you had were the 18%, which is changing nothing.
Correct.
And then the second set of options is just being strategic on the back end of the plan. And so it's not such a culture shock for employees.
Correct.
I have two questions.
Okay.
So the first one is on the HSA for the proposed option 3.
Okay.
Underneath the employee sheet, it shows the asterisk with the out of pocket for so it's saying that only prescription copays, is that only prescription copays during the deductible payment period apply? Because it says none of the deductible applies to the out of pocket, meaning that they pay for a single like $1,700, and then anything they pay after that starts going towards their out of pocket.
No, so the deductible does go towards the out of pocket. So where is it that you see?
So on the employee one,
Yeah.
there's on the far column, there's this here that applies to the asterisk for the out of pocket maximum.
Okay, so, yeah, so that is, so thank you for pointing that out. So that's actually for option 1 and 2, so I need to
Okay.
fix that, and yep, that would be only for option 1 and 2.
So then for the HSA, their payments of the deductible count towards their out of pocket.
Yeah, and actually, you know what, that needs to be crossed off completely. That would be if you guys had a carve out, and you guys don't have a carve out, I need to take that off. It applies. Deductible applies towards the out of pocket max on 1, 2, and 3.
Okay,
So I apologize for that confusion. Thank you for pointing that out.
well, it makes a big difference.
Yes, it
Oh.
was.
And then the other question I had for the sheet with all 3, for the breakdown on ones that were rough. For the estimated values on the medical one here. The values that you have here, is this based off of current employee usage for who would best fit into those divisions? Because I noticed that there were 7 employees that would have been taken out of the base plan and put into the new option.
That was a guess.
It's a guess based, okay, so it's just. Which,
Yeah, so I just guessed, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, for an HSA, I just guessed, typically we don't get a lot of people that join the HSA in the first year. And so we usually have more singles, of anybody. So I just threw out a number and pulled them from the base plan and threw them in there. Just for some cost purposes, so we could analyze it. Yeah,
Oh.
so yeah, that 7 is a guess, thank you.
okay,
And we have 45 employees that opt out.
That are not included in those.
Correct.
Correct.
and that's been consistent, that number's been right around 40.
Very consistent since
Okay.
we, yeah.
I can keep all of this right.
You're very analytical. Those are some 2 very good pickups, so thank
I
you.
can keep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll take this home, mull it over. And I would like to have a meeting, if possible, on the 5th of August, so we can go over it. I would like for the budget review. I just had some things that we need to talk about that's not ready to be able to discuss, or, because I need more numbers before I can give you the budget. So it wasn't ready today, but I need to have it ready prior to your next regular meeting. So I would like to, if we could, meet on the 5th and have a meeting about the budget and a couple other action items I'd like.
What time, Lori?
9.
That's the day after election, right?
And just let me know, I'd have to look at my calendar, but if you want me there,
All right.
assuming I'm available, I'd be more than happy to be there.
Because they have to, not only you have to decide what plan you want to do, you have to decide if you're gonna opt out of PA 152, opt into PA 152, if you're gonna, you have to make those decisions. So we can at least have another meeting to discuss it. We can, vote on it if you have all your questions answered between now and then.
We need a motion to have a meeting on that day.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we conduct a special board meeting 5th of August, 9 AM to discuss the budget, healthcare and other areas.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So my only concern with that is Priority does have the 1st as a deadline. To have signed paperwork returned, so I'm gonna talk to them to make sure that's okay.
Yeah, because we've been asking them since December and, talking about numbers with them.
Yeah.
And so they wait all this time.
Yeah.
And give us the numbers and then they
Right.
turn around and give us a dozen.
Right, yeah,
So-
so I think it should be fine, so I'm gonna let them know, but if we can just make sure we're ready to make some decisions on that day. Otherwise, we might get into where coverage isn't loaded properly. 10-1, and that just creates a lot of problems with the employees.
Yeah, we still have to do open enrollment
Yeah.
again and.
Yeah. So, but I'll communicate that with her and let her know, and it shouldn't be an issue. If for whatever reason it is, I'll let you know.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
any questions for her before she leaves?
Lots of questions once I go through it.
So it's here too. So there's a couple of cards here, and Lori and Jody both have my information as well.
And if you want, we can set up a meeting where Jen can come to the office so we can do a Zoom.
Yeah, I'm always up for doing, any education. If you want a 101 on healthcare, been doing this for almost 30 years now, so. Not gonna say I know everything, because I still learn something new every day in healthcare. I swear it changes so much, but, I do love to. I love this space, so more than happy to sit down with anybody and go through that with you if you'd like to really do a deep dive on it.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I was gonna say stay cool, you guys, but man, it's cool in here. It's gonna be. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Okay, treasurer's report.
Morning, this, the statutory report I put in front of you.
The report, I've just been attending my meetings, everything's going well. We've been getting more participation in our township meetings, which is a good indication, the public's more aware. That's good. Quite an open report, okay. David.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in Franklin Township, they're switching their phones, to a Wi-Fi based phone. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the old copper lines that the phone seems to run on. AT&T is in the process of phasing them out, which makes it very difficult to maintain the phone. But they have offered this Wi-Fi based internet phone program to help bridge the gap on that. Summerfield Township, they're going to be switching their emails over to .gov ones. And they're going to be hosting a community cleanup at the hall, September 12th at 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And there's going to be a barbecue afterwards. Community Action Agency, we have a new finance director. We also did approval for the new vehicle. We're going to be getting a Chevy Silverado for our modernization department. So we decided to run a stop sign. One of our vehicles. That was interesting. Hamilton Township is going to be upgrading their website to be ADA compliant. There is a law that mandates that municipalities have ADA compliant websites. It's going to be, the deadline is next year. You had under 50,000 residents. And they also added the new park to their master plan. Winterfield Township last night has approved the road mileage to be renewed on November ballot. And they are continuing to look into the data center concerns and whether or not to end a moratorium to prevent rain. That's all I have.
Thank you. Dave.
Yes, good morning. I only have a couple things to update you on. We received notice, I don't know if you're gonna talk about it, but I'll steal your thunder. Department of Transportation denied our build grant to better utilize the infrastructure leverage development grant. We're gonna do a dive with them and find out why I've been able to do to improve our packet. So for the future submissions for next year, just to remind you, that was a grant that we requested for planning from the south interchange here in Harrison to the north interchange on the business route. So we'll try to figure out what happened there. Additionally, currently right now, as we speak, the Michigan Aeronautics Commission is meeting, and we have 2 grant requests that are pending. We hope that we're going to get it. We're very confident that we will. And one of those is for crack sealing for $19,612, and the other one is for a new beacon at the Harrison Airport for $13,500. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Marlene.
Just been spending my meetings, nothing exciting.
That's good. Jack.
Nothing to report.
Jeff.
The health department did pick a new health officer to replace Steve Hall, which was done the end of this month, and her name's Taylor Irwin. She's promoted from within. And I got one other thing. Since Dale retired and Bob's taking over for him, is he taking his committee meetings?
Yes.
Okay, so I will need to get you some information on the health department that you'll be on.
And I gave you a list of those committees.
You did.
Yeah.
Awesome report.
Bob, do you have anything?
I do. I'm, as well as being seated here, I am now the zoning administrator for Lincoln Township. That was effective on July 1st. They're technically calling me a compliance officer, so I'm doing all the zoning, I'm doing all the ordinances. We had a meeting there last night talking about short-term rentals, the STRs, and we're trying to draw an ordinance to control that a little better than sort of like the Wild West out there right now. And that's it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Public comment.
Randy.
Nice to meet you, sir. I'm Randy. Just to give some information, what I'm about to talk, it crosses county, state, and federal, so it should concern all levels of government. But on June 28th, I submitted a FOIA request to the Clare County FOIA Department asking for records on penetration testing and certification of our voting systems under the Secure It Act. I received a response on June 30th stating that no responsive records exist at the county level and that it is handled at the state level. I have since followed up. I have emailed Tom Coots. I haven't got a response on that yet. At our GOP meeting, I talked to a lady from John Mulliner's office. She did respond back to me with some helpful information on the federal implications of non-compliance, including risk to funding and certification. With President Trump scheduled to speak tomorrow and potentially addressing the issues from the 2020 election. Yes, by the way, 2020 is not over. There will be accountability for that. I would like to ask the board and Representative Coons, what steps is the county taking to ensure our voting systems have undergone the required independent penetration testing that meet federal and state security standards? And can the board request a status update from the Secretary of State of Bureau of Elections? And I just want to add that there was some confusion on the internet when I brought up this issue. Some people said, well, they've already done the accuracy test. The accuracy test does not prove whether these machines have been hacked or not. Totally separate testing. But thank you for your service in ensuring election integrity in Clark County.
Randy, you're welcome to fill out a form if you want, give me a written response.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay. Any other business?
I want to say just a couple things here. Tomorrow is the Veterans Benefit. The Veterans Benefit Fair, 10 a.m. to 2. It's at the CTE John C. Magnus Center. So, make sure you take a moment and check it out. And then I also want to give a congrats to the clerk's office. Casey, Lord Grant, and, they're gonna be getting, it's a new, fingerprinting system that's gonna be portable. That's only $10,000. So I wanna say congratulations to them for that.
Any new business? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. I'll second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.